All right, we made it. We're here.
We're here.
We're in Ohio.
Somewhere in Ohio.
We're not in Berea right now. We were in Berea.
We're close to Berea.
We're very close. We just got back from the first joint practice. It was
We're in North Berea.
I don't think is that a thing?
It is now.
This is Cuyahoga County.
Yes, it is.
I learned that. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast with Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. We're on the road for this one. We're here at our hotel. But we were just on the practice fields, and we saw about 1 hour, 48 minutes of practice. A pretty good session. A lot to get to today.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty high level. No fights. Good work.
Yeah, there was a nice level of chippiness without it kind of spilling over into being a fight.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And that's what they want. That's what the coaches want. They don't want brawls, but they want it to be intense and competitive and physical, and I think it was all these things.
It was. You know what's interesting? Fletcher Cox told us before the practice a few of the Eagles leaders and a few of the Browns leaders got together and just kind of talked it out and said, hey, like we want to make sure that we don't fight each other and we get good work in. We don't ruin it for ourselves.
And then a fight broke out during that conversation.
And that's not true. But he said that's something they kind of do with just about every joint practice. There was kind of a meeting before that, just basically saying like, hey, I'll keep my guys in check if you keep your guys in check. And it seemed to work. And it was fun, though. There was some jawing, and it had that competitive fire to it.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Derek Barnett is present, there's going to be jawing. And there's going to be, you want to live on the edge. You want to live on the edge of it's almost out of control, but it's not.
Yeah, I agree with that. So we have a bunch of – it was funny. As we stepped into the complex today, they didn't care about us at all. The Deshaun Watson news just broke. So before we even got our credentials, really, we were walking into a press conference, and there's Deshaun Watson in front of us. The news came down today that the NFL and NFLPA came to an agreement, 11 games, $5 million. And then we didn't have to really talk about it too much, and that's as much as we'll talk about it, honestly.
Yeah, for Eagles fans, it's only relevant because he did practice today. He will play. Well, he could play in the game. He's eligible to play in the game,
but he won't.
He won't.
Yeah.
But he was out there. Looked kind of rusty to me. Watched a lot of him. I was watching the Eagles' first defense most of the practice. Dave was watching the offense, but it was strange because I feel like anybody could have just walked into that press conference if they happened to be in Berea.
They had a lot going on.
They did, and we just kind of ended up there.
Yeah,
we were just kind of like getting the lay of the land, and we ended up.
It's funny, it's the biggest NFL story of the week, and here we are, just hey, let's go to Jonathan Gaddin's press conference, and then there's Deshaun Watson and their ownership group and Andrew Berry, who we know a little bit from his time in Philly. Yeah. We didn't get to have that warm, fuzzy reunion with Andrew Berry. He had some other stuff on his mind.
Yeah, so they were a little preoccupied, but once practice started, it was a pretty good day.
I thought so, and you mentioned it. It kills me to not be able to watch everything in these practices, but they split fields, and they had the Eagles offense and the Browns defense on one field, and the Browns offense and the Eagles defense on the other field. I really made sure I got that right. That was tricky. So you just can't watch it all until the end of the practice. And then they had more of a competitive, almost like a scrimmage in a way, where everyone watches the same field. And that's really the most fun parts of these practices.
It was short, but it was pretty high level.
Yeah, high level, and that's really where you have starters drawing. Otherwise the starters are on the field. But the Eagles offense is out there, and you have Darius Slay on the sideline yelling at, Browns DBs, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I thought it's funny because we were up. I was up in the bleachers actually behind that field. Mm-hmm. It was really the best way to get a vantage point of the first defense going against the Browns offense. And I was up there with a couple other writers, and you'd hear a commotion on the other field, and you're like over, all of a sudden you look over, like, what did Devontae do? And so you're just trying to stay focused, but. If you could watch both fields, that would be ideal. But
it's tough.
I think if you try to watch both, you end up watching either.
Yeah, and I was guilty of that a little bit because I my eyes were wandering at times, especially when I was watching the DB wide receiver one-on-ones, and at the same time they had the O-line, D-line. So I was back and forth a little bit.
Yeah. You want to start with?
Where else would we start? By housekeeping. That's where we start. Especially in a hotel, we have to start with housekeeping.
I'm going to find one of the.
Yeah. James Bradbury, that's the most significant injury he had. Well, not significant maybe in terms of what the injury is, but in that he didn't practice. He has a groin We saw him leave practice on Tuesday early. He stayed out there, so I don't think it's anything too significant.
I don't want to put too much into it. I mean, he looked fine walking.
Yeah.
You didn't see him. Like you see Grant Calcaterra walking, he's like grabbing at his hair. I mean, I thought Bradbury looked okay. Mm-hmm. So not super concerned, but something to keep an eye on.
And they're going to be cautious with him, as they should be. You know, he's a pretty big part of this team.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders missed day 3 of practice. What do you make of this? Because on one hand, he probably doesn't need this work.
No.
On the other, he's injured again.
If it was anyone else, you just kind of go through the injuries. But with him, I mean, he played 8 snaps Friday night against the Jets, and that's probably when he got hurt.
Yeah, it's full trouble.
Got 2 touches, so it's concerning. Because this year, I mean, with the contract situation, I mean, it's a concern. So I don't know what to think, and we'll see how long he's out. But then it's like, when's the next thing going to happen? So,
it always feels like there's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame because he's really good when he's on the field.
But yeah, it's just not on the field again.
Browns were without Myles Garrett. He has personal things going on. And Denzel Ward was back at practice. He just got off the PUP list, but he wasn't doing team drills yet. So I was looking forward to watching him, and we didn't get to see that. And we didn't get to see Myles Garrett, but there's still Jadeveon Clowney out there, and he's still pretty good.
Yeah, he's special. And Epps was back, which was interesting because that was a big concern. A guy has a back.
Yeah.
You never know with back. So he's
and back full go.
Back full go with the back.
Yeah.
So that was good to see. And he played well. He looked really good.
He did. Yeah. All right. So let's start off with the most fun moment.
That's it for housekeeping?
That's it for housekeeping.
It's a brief edition of housekeeping.
The most fun play of the day wasn't even near the ball. It was Landon Dickerson meeting a linebacker in the hole. This is Jacob Phillips, who's a smaller linebacker. He's like 238.
He's smaller now than he was before the snap.
A little compact. Dickerson just demolished.
So it was one of those plays that, when there's a big play at joint practices, there's a lot of oohing and ahhing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you hear this crashing sound, and you just see Dickerson just standing like a Roman gladiator up there.
He did a little dance over him.
Yeah.
I don't think it was going to dance. It was like
I don't know what
a martial arts move.
I don't know, but it was interesting. But like everybody in the Eagles sideline, it was like, whoa!
It was a heck of a hit.
It was.
It was loud.
Yeah, it was deafening.
Yeah.
That was really cool. That was a really cool moment, and like even people, like the refs and like the equipment guy. Whoa! Yeah, that was. So I mean, I know people have this image of the Eagles having these soft practices.
It was funny because they're not tackling to the ground. That's harder than any hit. That's a tackle.
Yeah. It was crushing. It was. He's just so good. And he looks great. He's healthy.
We haven't talked about him a lot at all, but this time last year he wasn't even practicing.
We haven't talked about him a lot at all. I guess that's accurate. Yeah. He looks great. I mean, he's huge. He's quick. He's athletic. He's now, I don't want to jinx him, but he's now another year removed from his last injury. So a year plus from his last injury. He's got that experience. He's playing next to Jurgens now, but I mean, he's got another year with Mulata there. He's a stud. I mean, he's just really, really good.
Yeah.
And consistent. Like, you don't see bad plays out of him.
And I think that's probably why we haven't talked about him a ton. It takes a play like this for us to, he's pretty good, which is a good sign for a guard, honestly.
True.
The less you think about a guard in these practices, probably the better.
Yeah. But he's one of those offensive linemen. This is really true for the whole starting group. He's just fun to watch. He's just he's so athletic and so quick and just always in the right place, just looking for somebody to demolish. He's a good one.
Yeah. One-on-ones. I had a chance to watch the Eagles wide receivers in one-on-one drills. And look, those drills in general are slanted toward the offense, but the Eagles were impressive offensively. And Jalen was delivering the football, and Gardner Minshew had some great passes. They completed the first 7.
Really?
And the first one was A.J. Brown down the left sideline, one-handed. Zach Pascal dropped his corner. I mean, juked him so bad the dude ended up twisted up in a knot. And Devontae Smith had another active day.
He looked great today.
He's been back for 3 days, and he's been fantastic in all 3 practices.
And they're definitely feeding him. I mean, it seems that way. They're definitely
the way he's playing. I'd feed him too.
Yeah, but I mean, I think part of it is he needs the work. He's not behind, but he just needs the work. Is Pascal a little better than you thought?
Oh yeah, because he got labeled as this like gritty special teamer who's Nick's favorite player, and he's going to do all the dirty work.
Yeah,
he's a decent receiver.
He is.
Yeah. I think he's going to find his way on the field at times.
I think he will. And he should. I don't know exactly how much or where. I think goal line, he'll be a weapon. He seems to have a real knack for the end zone. He's faster than I thought. He's got good size. He's got 15 touchdowns in 3 years.
And that's limited time touchdowns.
And limited reps. So, he's better. He's way better than I thought.
Yeah. Did you happen to notice anything from the other side of that, the Eagles DBs against Browns receivers?
No, I thought it was pretty evenly matched. I thought Avonte Maddox had a really good day. They have some big tight ends that they were thrown to a lot, and he got some good work there. But nothing spectacular. Nothing.
How did Amari Cooper look?
Yeah, he didn't.
Oh no,
didn't.
He's still a really good player.
Yeah. No, they didn't. Nobody really stood out. I thought K'Von Wallace had a good day. Zach McPherson, who's getting first team reps now with Bradbury out, I think he looks really good. I just it's a drop off, but it's not a huge drop off. It's just a conversation about quarterbacks. It's a huge drop off, but it's not a fatal drop off, I guess is what I want to say.
Yeah.
I think he could get you through a game. He might be able to get you through a couple games, maybe not more than that, but he's improved a lot. He's just really aggressive and always in the right place and faster than he was last year. He just looks fluid. I think when you know the defense better, you look faster. That seems to be the case with him. Remember last year, he was just getting beat all over the place. That wasn't the case today. It hasn't been the case this camp. He's been pretty good in his coverage. So, he looked good.
Yeah. My next job is actually something that you gave me because it happened on the other side of the field. And this is something I saw a little bit too. Just the amount that the Browns run the football and the amount of play action they use off of that running ability is different. I mean, it's different than what the Eagles offense is. So getting to see that, and that's one of the big benefits of these joint practices is you get to see other offenses and other defenses and things that your team doesn't necessarily do because it's not their strength.
Yeah, it was. I think pretty much every big play they made was off play action, and every big play they made that wasn't off play action was a run off play action. So that's a big part of what they do. And it's Avonte was saying, we don't see that much in practice. It was really good work. They made some plays against us, and it's something we know we have to work on. But it was really good work. And but yeah, every big play they made was off play fakes. Brissett hit a few down the field off play action. So yeah, it's something they don't normally see, and that's the benefit of these practices.
Yeah. Another benefit is Lane Johnson getting to go up against Jadeveon and Clowney for an afternoon. That's tough, man. And for the most part, Lane kept him in check. There was one play where Clowney blew him up. Lane ended up on his backside, which we don't see
that
very often. I think he just caught him off balance. But on that play, give Lane credit. He held up long enough that Jalen was able to deliver the throw and hit that was Dallas Goedert over the shoulder. It was a beautiful pass. So, and other than that, I thought Lane really kept Clowney in check.
And Lane loves that work.
Mm-hmm.
Lane, I think most guys like working against the guys that are really good. And like Chubb today, I mean, I think Chubb's one of the better running backs in the league.
Yeah.
And he hit some big runs. And, I think he's got the highest average ever by a running back.
Was he like 5'5"?
He's like 5'4", 5'5". And because Miles is 8th and he's like 5'2".
I think 5'3".
5'3", somewhere in there. So, yeah, I think everybody on the Eagles defense would tell you they enjoy that kind of work. And they make some plays against him. And that's why this is so valuable. Chubb's really quick.
Yeah.
Cutbacks, running through traffic. He was fun to watch.
Yeah. And
Clowney Lane is just great work.
And Lane enjoys those measuring sticks. He knows, like, he gets ready for the big rushers. And a couple years ago, we had that stretch where it was like, God, every week he was facing some top edge rusher. I thought for the most part he handled Clowney. I think Mailata is a little disappointed that Myles Garrett isn't practicing, because that's typically the way. I look back at the Browns snaps last year, and typically Clowney rushes off the left side and Garrett off the right. So
he should be disappointed. I'm sure he was, because that's Jordan. He's another one. He just
lose in practice. It's fine.
Yeah. Lane, I'm really curious to see how Lane plays. He says he's finally healthy.
If he really is, and if he is, and we'll see.
Said that before.
He said it before, and how many times can you tell us you're really healthy? But if he really is, he's the best right tackle in football.
He was before he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he still has that ability. And the Eagles are banking on it. I mean, he's under contract through 2025. So it's not like they're like, get through this year, Lane. They're counting on him for the next few seasons at least.
Yeah, he seems really motivated. Hasn't made a Pro Bowl since 19, I think.
And that irritates the heck out of him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he only played, what did he play? 11 games last year, 12?
He thought he should have made it.
It's tough. It's tough when you don't play the whole season.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why he missed games might have been a factor. It might be different.
He thinks it was.
It should be.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was. If anything, Lane will use it. He's good at that.
Yeah.
Trying to prove doubters wrong.
Always has been.
The one thing you mentioned that was kind of interesting was he compared Clowney to Sweat. He said working against Sweat this much kind of got him prepared for Clowney. And I kind of see it. I mean, I don't think Sweat is as powerful as Clowney, but they have the long body type. They have a good get off. They have a pretty good stab that they work off of. So I think there are some similarities. Obviously, Sweat hasn't had quite the career. Yeah, I mean, Clowney's numbers aren't blowing anyone away.
No, but I think he's
a better player. Of course he is.
I mean, I'm bullish on Sweat this year. I've seen a lot of good things. They were working on him. A trainer was working on him briefly.
He had a nice sack today.
Something to keep an eye on. Yeah, he did. Reddick had a nice run. My man Marvin Wilson had a nice sack as well. Went over and bumped Gannon after.
The Sweat one came in that competitive period. And then right after that, with the twos, Patrick Johnson got after it. He had at least one sack. One that was – he's coming on really strong.
Can we talk about Patrick Johnson for a second? Second year, he's really had a good 2 weeks. I think he's something good for that kid.
And he was, I think, firmly on the bubble coming into this camp, especially because they drafted Kyron Johnson, who could have taken his job.
Yeah, he's so far ahead of Kyron.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that's the difference between a second-year guy and a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
He's come so far. And really, I thought the first maybe week and a half, you didn't really notice him.
Yeah.
Something just clicked with that kid. And
really him and Teron Jackson.
Yeah. And you kind of think of them together because they were drafted together.
And now they basically play the same position.
Yeah. So, but I think Patrick Johnson has been, over the last 2 weeks, very good. I think he's pretty much – I want to say he's got a roster spot locked up. He's close.
I think he does.
He just
he's a lock.
He just might.
Yeah.
He makes a play every day.
Yeah, I think it's kind of undeniable at this point.
Interesting. Undeniable.
Yeah.
I won't argue with you.
Yeah.
But it's also – I mean, we still have a month to go. Well, a couple weeks till final cuts. But I think – if I did a 53 today, he'd be on it.
Yeah, I think Kyron Johnson's a trickier one. Do they keep 3 Sams? He's a he can be a monster on special teams. So you keep him for that.
Yeah.
That's why you'd be keeping a third guy there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Jack Stoll had a really impressive catch today.
He did. I saw that.
It was on a slant, and it was a little behind him. He had to kind of like throw his hands out as he was running and grab it. We don't think of him as a pass catcher. He had 4 for 22 last year, but in training camp, he catches the ball.
Yeah, he does. It was funny. We were watching warm-ups, and he dropped one right to him, and it went bouncing into the middle of the field, and one of the equipment guys threw it to the wrong drill, and Jack was running around trying to get the ball back, and he's like, so I'm like, this day has not started out well for Jack's ball. He's out there running, trying to get the equipment guys to throw him the right ball, but yeah, he looked good on that one, and he has caught the ball. He's not getting a ton of targets, but I think for the most part, and that wasn't a short ball either. I mean, that was not a really easy catch, and it had some steam on it. So that was good to see. If he can catch the ball, and it doesn't have to be huge numbers. If he can just catch a pass or two a game, and just keep defenses honest with his blocking ability, he'll play a lot.
Yeah, and the thing that impressed me about that catch was he didn't stop his momentum. He could have stopped, caught it, and gotten tackled.
Well, he had a nice catch on that touchdown drive against the Jets.
Yeah, I did.
So good signs for him.
Yeah.
We should mention, if we're talking about tight ends, Grant Calcaterra still not practicing. July 30th.
Last practice.
He got hurt. I was watching Tyree Jackson. He worked for over an hour with the trainer. Really good work. He looks maybe close,
Yeah, I think it's going to be tight.
Yeah.
Especially without him practicing all summer.
Yeah.
The guy who hasn't really played that much of the position in general.
Yeah, it's true. It does look good, but I mean, I don't know what you do with him.
Yeah. You probably put him on PUP and push that decision off for a while.
You can put it off for a month.
Yeah. Jalen Hurts might have had one of his best passes of all of camp. It was he rolled to the left, which is always when he rolls to the left, you get a little gulp because you don't know what's going to happen. But man, he threaded the needle to AJ Brown right over Ronnie Harrison, and it was an off-schedule play. Something that I asked AJ about those off schedules, how they work on. He's like, I can't give away the secrets, but he's like, we run around, and we just get on that same page.
Right.
And it was an impressive throw. As much as there have been certain plays. I thought that bullet to AJ Brown down the sideline the other day was probably Hurts' best. This one's right there because the degree of difficulty rolling to his left, especially for him, to me it made it. It's right there.
Yeah.
And he had to throw it into a tight window along the sideline against another team, which is always
Right.
I think it was right there with it.
I didn't see that one. I was on the other side.
Yeah, that was when they were still split.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. I did see. I thought he threw the ball well when I was watching. We didn't mention on the Landon Dickerson block. I don't think we mentioned it was a really nice run by Boston too, who hit the hole really decisively and got a big gain. But everyone's screaming at that point for the block. I don't think anyone was even watching Boston, but it was a nice run too.
What do we got? This is just one of my observations that you wouldn't have seen, but a couple picks for the Browns' second and third team defenses in the Eagles offense versus Browns defense. I thought pretty decidedly the Eagles offense had an advantage, but the Browns backups kind of beat up on Gardner Minshew, at least for a while, and Reed Sinnett. 2 picks, and they really celebrated after those interceptions. And I think it kind of fired up both teams.
Yeah, we heard all the changes. It's hard to focus on your field. You're like, what happened? What happened? Who was that? Along those lines, before I forget, Anthony Harris stripped their backup running back.
Do they have a backup?
Yeah, 34. You have a roster.
34 is Jerome Ford.
Yeah, he stripped him. It was a really nice play by him. Sachre had a strip and also had a sack on a blitz.
Okay.
He was really active with that group. And like I mentioned, Kayvon Wallace was really active today. He's really turned his summer around.
Yeah, I thought he was in danger of missing
too.
The cut, but
there's a lot of linebackers, but he was really good today. I'm just remembering because hey, my notebook's in your car, which is doing me a lot of good right now. But yeah, Sasha is interesting. I don't.
Well, they've been they've started to use him as a nickel.
Yeah.
Too. So there've been times where, Josiah Scott will be the safety and Sasha is the nickel, and they've kind of like flipped roles a little bit.
Yeah.
Which I think is, in some cases, when a guy changes positions, I think it's a bad sign. And sometimes I think it's a good sign. And it really just depends on the player and the situation.
Well, for Josiah Scott, I mean, he's still doing both. I think.
Yeah, but not a ton. I mean, he's really a safety at this point who plays nickel on occasion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he told us he still considers himself both. And I think for him, it's just he's a guy that's really smart and can do a lot of things. Sasha, I don't know if that's the case, but he is around the ball. He does make plays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, and he's changing
team.
my opinion of him from just a special team. Like, you think if he makes his team, it's got to be a special teams guy, but he might be able to hold up on defense a little bit.
Yeah.
What did you see from Jordan Davis today?
Oh, my goodness. So there was this one stretch of 3 snaps in a row where he blew up a run, and again, it was Ford. It wasn't Chubb. He blew up a run, got a great pressure. I think Reddick got the sack. I think we're going to see that a lot, where Reddick gets a sack on Jordan Davis's pressure.
Anyone gets a sack in Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
That was me.
Yeah. And then blew up another running play. It was like 3 straight snaps, and I mean, he's just going to be so much fun to watch this year. I asked Gannon about, like, the knock on him was his condition, his fitness. He's not effective at the end of games. And Gannon said, he's really taking that part of his preparation seriously. He said, I have no limitations about how much he can play. He said, in the game. I mean, like the play where the Jets quarterback got hurt. I mean, he ran a long way. And he wasn't involved in the play, but
he had so many of those plays at Georgia where I know everyone questioned his stamina. That was the question, but like he would have plays where he's running all over the field.
Yeah, I think the question is, can he still be that guy at the end of games?
Yeah,
if he's playing 35 snaps, to me, he's too good to be a 20-snap guy. I mean, he's just too good. He's too valuable. He's too productive. He's too dominating. I don't know how the number is going to work out with all these D tackles. They have a lot of them.
Do you want him on the field on third down?
Third and what?
Fair.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen enough of what he can do on third down. I think next year he's got to be that, but probably not this year.
Yeah. That's probably the way it's going to go too.
Yeah. But I mean, I think his conditioning is such a big part of his story, because he would not be doing the things he's doing now if he was out of shape.
Yeah, I think he really kind of it seems like they were very pleased with how he came back to training camp, which I bet you they were a little nervous.
Sure.
Probably a little anxious that first day he reported and finding out, well, what's he been doing these last few weeks?
He took it really seriously. And I mean, he knows that was a knock on him at Georgia. I really like what I've seen from that standpoint.
Yeah, me too. My favorite moment from this practice was Devon Allen, actually. Had to play on special teams. He hasn't been able to celebrate or do anything. He hasn't made very many plays, honestly. But
doesn't get many reps.
Yeah, he made a play on special teams today. Kind of threw a guy and he was working as like a gunner, but he threw the guy to the ground, and then he like celebrated by hurtling over the guy.
The Browns like that?
They didn't care for it too much. I couldn't stop laughing. There's an Olympic hurdler celebrating by hurtling over someone as he's on the ground.
Well, it's a good thing he's not an Olympic shot putter, javelin thrower or something. But it's been people ask me, how's he look? I mean, he just doesn't get reps.
He's not going to make the team, but and he's 27. But it was a fun moment.
I'm starting to think he probably won't make the practice squad. I'm not sure there's a reason.
I haven't seen enough
to keep him around.
He deserves one of those spots.
We have 16 of them. So
he's also 27. So what's the payoff? I mean, he can't help you this year.
Right. He probably can't help you ever. And I've been rooting for the kid. He's a track guy.
Good story.
Yeah. It'd be a better story if he was doing better. But
yeah, it was funny at that open practice. He actually did make a play. One of his few plays of camp, he caught a screen and he showed off the speed. And I had a bunch of fans going, "What are you talking about? He's great." I know.
Well, you remember we saw a rep the other day where, like, he didn't look blazing fast.
Mm-hmm.
He had the ball in the open field, and he just obviously had pads on, but I just wonder if he's been, if it's been harder than he expected to transfer his track speed to football speed.
And
and that's understandable.
Sometimes sprinters too are kind of like the old like Ferrari comparison. It's like everything needs to be perfect for them to reach top speed.
He hasn't missed any practices.
He hasn't, but I just wonder about the toll of getting hit has on his speed. Like, is he able to be as fast as he would be on the track after getting hit every day? I don't know if that's playing a role.
Did you ever watch on him when he was hurtling?
I did not. He false started though.
It's not funny. We don't.
Sorry.
We don't allow jokes about false starting.
There were some false starts, by the way. The Eagles' offense had a few today.
Yeah. Matt Leo jumped off sides once.
Got to clean that up.
Fifth-year international player.
In general, at these practices, like, you want to walk away and say, this team won the day or this team lost the day. And I thought last year they won all 4 of their training camp practices, those joint practices. I don't think you can declare a winner.
I thought the Eagles won. I thought it was close.
Really?
Yeah, I thought they made some plays. But, again, I didn't see everything going on the other field. So, but I thought it was close either way.
Yeah, and that's why it's almost not even worth declaring
There's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's nothing wrong with getting good work and being challenged and things not coming easy for either side of the ball and seeing things you're not used to. And, Avante talked about, like, we asked him about getting beat on a lot of play, not him personally, and he did get beat on a couple. But, the Browns made some plays on play action.
That's not a bad team now.
It's not a bad team.
It's a pretty good team.
Yeah. And he said, they made some plays on us, and that's good for us. It shows us what we need to work on.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole idea of these practices.
Yeah. Anything else that stood out to you?
No, for the dumb observation of the day.
It was the Devon Allen.
Oh, that was – okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I had so many that I had to kind of use a real one. I had another dumb one ready, or stupid. They're not dumb, they're stupid.
Okay.
I had another one today, and this was about me. So I've had a few about me, and I need to stop that. But you know how I take attendance every day?
I know.
I've
heard.
Today they got off the bus, and a lot of them guys were still carrying their pads.
Yeah.
So I was crossing them off just by like the guys who I recognize, and Darren Sproles is with them, and I see him walking, and out of instinct I went to cross them off, and then I remembered he hasn't played in a few years.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be that half the guys went to the
bathroom.
Yeah.
They had like one of those fancy like trailer porta potties.
We used to have those at Lehigh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They have one at NovaCare during practice.
Yeah, they do. That's right.
Yeah.
I would just rather talk about Lehigh. But so like half the team was going in there.
It looked like if Nick had taken all his kids to a field trip, and you're like, you got to go to the bathroom before we get on the practice field.
You know what Kelsey was telling me? That they had to go to the stadium to dress out.
Yeah, they don't have.
They went from the hotel to the Browns stadium.
Yeah.
And their hotel's near the stadium. It's downtown. They got dressed at the stadium because they don't have luck. They got dressed at the stadium and then bussed to the practice field in their gear with their helmets, and then bussed back to the stadium. Went to the locker room, got changed.
In fairness, that's what teams have to do when they come to.
Yeah. It's a little closer. Yeah.
But it's still the same thing. They have to
cross the street.
Yeah, they have to go to the link to get.
Yeah.
How much fun do you think they have on that bus ride from Cleveland to Berea?
How much fun?
Yeah, it's probably a fun bus ride.
I would think so. It's a fun group. Yeah.
Who do you think's the loudest on that bus?
Sean Bradley.
Just yelling?
Just screaming, yelling. BG, I'm sure, is up there. Sean Bradley might be ready to – I mean, we'll see about, if he's here, but I think he will be. They have to keep like 15 linebackers, but might be ready to take the mantle as like Mr. Energy. You know?
Oh, I think he already has.
Oh, BG still brings it
for special teams at least.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, he's that on special teams.
Yeah.
All right, you got anything else before we wrap this up?
Anything post practice?
Not a ton. We talked to a few of the heavy hitters today. Lane Johnson, Fletcher Cox, AJ Brown, Marvin Wilson.
Yeah, I finally was allowed to talk to Marvin Wilson, who, as Zach Berman says, hey, your guy's having a good day. So that he's now
your guy.
I said, why is he my guy? He's my guy because Zach had a trivia question. What 5 guys – did he ask you this?
No.
Zach Berman from The Athletic. What 5 guys on the team were top 5 recruits out of high school?
Oh, yeah, he's clearly one.
He was one of them. And but he's pretty good.
Yeah.
And he actually had a sack in that team period at the end and went over and chest bumped Gannon.
He's good. I mean, he was I think he went from being my guy. You've taken him from me.
I did. I seized him.
I think I had him on my 53 way back when until I saw Marlon Tuipulotu come back much better.
Yeah. They have some real depth. I don't know what they're going to do at that position because they can't keep them all. And I'd forgotten that Wilson was with the Browns last year, and he talked about just how
big homecoming. He was healthy last year when he was there, and they paid him a ton of money. I think they paid him like $300,000.
$300K.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was a big disappointment. But it was interesting, and I asked him about like you were a top 5 recruit. You were after his junior year, he was considered like a possible second round guy, and he came back and played another year and did not play well, did not get along with the coach, and was undrafted. And then
it's amazing how quickly it can.
And he said it took me a while to learn that, we all have a different journey, and like everybody, it's great if you're a first round pick, but you can't let that define you because there's first round picks that don't make the team, and there's undrafted guys that do. So you have to. You have to, whatever your lot is, whether you're drafted, undrafted, highly recruited, not recruited, you have to make the best of every day. He said it took him a while to learn that.
Yeah.
And he thinks he's learned it now. And he's had a really good camp. But again,
it's a numbers game there.
It's been a lot better.
Yeah.
And who are you going to keep? So he's a guy, we always talk about this. If he gets cut, he's a guy who I could see possibly getting claimed.
Yeah.
Although
it's so rare. We always see, because we're seeing one team, and you hear about these guys, you think, oh, he won't make it through waivers. And for the most part, they do. There are cases where they don't.
Henry Josie, remember? There's no way. People are tweeting me, there's no way Henry Josie's going to clear waivers. Henry Josie.
Yeah, Paul Turner and, all those guys. But, there are some. Noah Tangiai a few years ago.
There's about 10 per year.
Casey Tuhill a few years ago.
Yeah, he's still with Washington, I believe.
Yeah, he's a good rotational player.
Pick.
Yeah.
I believe, last year I believe it was like 10 or 12 guys league-wide.
Yeah.
So, you do the math. Every team's got a lot. So it's very rare, but it does happen. And sometimes you find a guy that way.
Yeah.
How he's going to claim a couple guys. He just general often does.
I'm curious about that. Well, maybe at safety I could see.
Yeah.
But the problem is that the roster's pretty deep this year.
Yeah.
You think back to 2016 when the roster was really pretty barren.
Right.
They claimed 3 guys. They ain't claiming 3 guys this year.
That's true. Yeah. But could be a safety. Yeah. Certainly wouldn't surprise me.
All right. That good? We good?
Yeah.
All right. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye Podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. One more day of joint practices. We will talk to you after that. Thanks, everyone.